And welcome to the European Parliament in Brussels for Talking Europe on France 24. It took an exhausting 17 straight hours for eurozone leaders to finally agree on a scenario to keep Greece in the euro. But the talks will go down as some of the most brutal and divisive in the union's history. In exchange for 82 billion euros of a loan, Greece's leftist Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras has been asked to backtrack on the majority of his campaign promises, change legislation and transfer up to 50 billion euro worth of state assets to a separate privatisation fund. Where has the deal left Greece and Europe? Let me introduce you to my guest on this set at the European Parliament in Brussels, Stelios Kouloglou. Welcome to the show. You're a Greek independent MEP, but you sit with Syriza here in the European Parliament. That's the anti-austerity party of Prime Minister Tsipras. Andreas Schwab, you're from Germany. You belong to the centre-right European People's Party. And back at home, you belong to Merkel's CDU. Greece and Germany have been at loggerheads in recent months. We're going to talk about this in a moment. First of all, Mr. Kouloglou, is it a good deal for Greece and for Europe?
No, it's a bad deal both for Greece and for Europe. We're going to honor it since we agreed, but this was kind of forced deal. And it's a kind of punishment because people in Greece voted no to the referendum. If you see this final agreement compared with the previous one before the referendum, this is much more tougher, and in a way more humiliating. And why is that? Mr. Kazimir, the Minister of Finance of Slovakia, gave the answer. He said, this is our tough response to the Athens Spring. And he was referring, because he was from Czechoslovakia, to the Spring of Prague that has been crushed by the Soviet tanks. What else I have to say? Mr. Kazimir is a close ally of Mr. Schauble.
Were some countries, including Germany, on a mission to punish Greece?
Not at all, but the problem has been for this agreement that apparently was the only agreement that has been possible to try to restore confidence. And I mean, if you have a Greek economic minister who takes secret recordings of the meetings, if you are pushed in a referendum,
you're referring to
all
the
of a sudden,
exactly, Finance Minister Varoufakis?
I think the problem that Europe is faced with is a loss of confidence, and this is also a problem for the Greek economy, the loss of confidence into what this government wants to be doing, and we have to restore that, and it will be difficult.
You referred to the fact that this agreement is actually much harsher than what Mr. Tsipras could have signed before the referendum. Did your Prime Minister totally miscalculate in this story?
I think, yes, he believed innocently, and he was believing that during those 5 months that he will have a better agreement using the arguments, the logic, and all the Nobel laureates in economy, Stiglitz, Krugman, you name it, that they were saying no. Greece needs another policy, no austerity on the austerity. You cannot find a serious economist in the world that will tell you that after 6 years of recession, you need more austerity. So he believed in that. And he believed at the end also, he miscalculated the referendum, saying that if I have a no to the proposal, then I will have more bargaining power. No. People were punished because of saying no. And this is not good for Greece, but this is not good for the European democracy.
Do you agree that this plan is the wrong recipe at the wrong time? Mr. Kouloglou says that austerity has failed in Greece. And yes, what we see is even more austerity, isn't it?
No, I mean, what the European Union wants to achieve, and all Eurozone countries, is that Greece becomes a country that creates its own competitiveness again. That's the problem, and it's a long-lasting problem, and for sure you can't fix it in some months, but you can start with, and I think the government of Mr. Tsipras unfortunately hasn't started, has focused on wrong issues, and therefore has created a much deeper mess in Greece now than it has ever been before. And secondly, I believe that we have to see what we can now achieve together. This is at political, but also at technical level, a very difficult question. Eurozone countries, the IMF, have never asked for austerity, but for transformation. But unfortunately, in the end, the consequence has been austerity. But you won't be able to communicate to the north of Europe that their pensioners should get less so that the Greek pension system remains up? No, we have to find a compromise on this, and also the Greek population understands, and you see the figures, also the Greek population is in favor of this agreement, which is a difficult agreement, but I think we can manage to get better out of this than we have been before, and that's the aim now.
You recognize that a lot of time has been wasted in Athens. Is there a positive side to this agreement, at least that now Greece will have to reform? That's one of the conditions. The pension system has to be reformed. The public administration has to be depoliticized. These were big plagues in Greece.
Absolutely. Listen, we want to make reforms more than our partners. We have no engagements with the oligarchy in Greece and with the rich people that were never paid in taxes and so on. But we needed, and we still need, some time to do it. And you cannot do reforms within a social catastrophe. I mean, now people, there are hospitals without thermometers. There are schools without teachers. How you can persuade all of those people that they have to sustain more austerity, less thermometers, less teachers for a paradise that never happens, never comes. That's the idea. We needed some more time. So we tried. We failed. I mean, the government failed to do that, believing in our partners' goodwill, and now we're facing the consequences. But we still, we will fight to prove that Greece is a nation of dignified people with dignity, we will fight.
What do you respond to those in Greece who say that, look, because of this deal, Greece has become a debt colony of Brussels?
I mean, the key driving force for the European Union and for the eurozone is to care about the Greek people, because they are suffering for decisions of their own governments that haven't been taken or that have been wrongly taken. And therefore it's very difficult from the outside to steer a process to help the people, sometimes against the government. And that is a very difficult situation. You can only do that with the sovereign state via agreements. And if the government...
But then a majority of Greeks voted against austerity in the referendum.
But they are in favor now in a majority for the new package. So it's very contradicting. It's for me also very difficult to understand what the Greek government, what Mr. Tsipras really wants to achieve. I have also Greek friends that can't explain me what they really want. So I think what we have to do now and what we have really to work for, because we should look to the future, that's the aim of the Greek citizens, that's the aim of the European Union. What can we do together? And I think the first thing what we have to care about is to restore confidence. Mr. Tsipras should not now fight against an agreement that he signed himself. We should look together, what can we do for the Greek people. That will be not easy, but I think that is something that we would like to do.
Yes, I agree. We must tell the truth to the people, and we must say that this is we try to do it. Europe cannot change at this moment, at least, but we will try to implement this agreement because there was no other option. But at the same time, I think our partners must also tell the truth to their people, And the truth is that the loans were given to Greece up to now, they were very much honored, and both France and Germany had made a lot of money out of the Greek debt and the loans. I have here 2 billion euros.
From the French Daily Libération.
Okay, from.
Did it say that?
Yes, and I have here, from the Die Zeit, a very serious German newspaper, that Germany won 380 million only from the interest rates, and there are even Die Welt, which is not friendly to another German paper, not friendly to the Greek government, says the same thing. So we have to say that up to the moment, Greece, honored all the agreements that have been made, and that must be said, because otherwise you have a hostile public opinion against Greece, and this is not facilitate things.
And things went really far on both sides, in Germany, also in Greece. I was in Athens when I covered the referendum. I saw that the No campaign used Mr. Schauble as a sort of bête noire. It read, this man has been sucking your blood, I believe, for years now. It's time to say no. Well, Mr. Schauble has been calling for a Grexit for a while now. He's been described by some as the conductor of the eurozone orchestra. Let's take a look at the man hated by the Greeks and loved by the Germans.
It's here in the Ministry of Finance in Berlin that Wolfgang Schauble takes on the fiscal burden of a country that isn't his own.
They just can't save.
In Brussels, he's upheld his uncompromising stance to the point that Athens has accused Schauble of wanting Greece out of the eurozone.
I've always gone with what we've decided together, the rules that we in Europe have all agreed upon.
A leading advocate of austerity, he's had a less than picture-perfect relationship with his former Greek counterpart, Yanis Varoufakis.
What I'm interested in is what he's committed to. And if he doesn't keep his promise, then he needs to accept the consequences.
A member of the Bundestag since 1972, Schauble has headed up Europe's biggest economy since 2009 and was tipped to succeed Helmut Kohl as Chancellor. An assassination attempt in 1990 left him paralyzed below the waist, but he went back to work 3 months later.
He's a politician who's obstinate and hard as nails. And he didn't seem to trust the Greek finance minister, who would ask what dirty trick he was going to play next.
They tried to flatter me and tell me that I was a great European. But it isn't working. I'm not stupid.
His unrelenting hardline stance on Greece has seen him become more popular at home than Chancellor Merkel.
Andreas Schwab, you know Mr. Schauble very well. He comes from the same constituency as you, the Black Forest, on the border with France, by the way. Earlier this week, Schauble hinted that he would still prefer for Greece to leave the eurozone. Does it mean that in Germany, Grexit is still on the table?
I think the option that is, by the way, also an option that the former Greek Minister of Finance, Mr. Varoufakis, has seen as the best option for Greece. The option is still an option that is debated, but I think with the Council having decided that Greece will remain in the eurozone, we'll go along that line. But I think that will still be a tough line for Greece, but also for the other eurozone members, because I think it is not easy to commit our population that what has been negotiated now, which is in a certain way exactly what has been on the table on beforehand, but being rejected by the Greek people, should now be implemented seriously. There are still some doubts, there is still a loss of confidence, and we have to work it out that this confidence is restored, and that is not easy.
Well, you know, Mr. Schauble made a very humiliating proposition. He proposed that 50 billion of Greek assets could go to an obscure institute somewhere in Luxembourg, and this institute is controlled by a German state bank. And guess who is the president of this of the board of directors? Mr. Schauble. So, I mean, either he
well, Mr. Tsipras fought hard for this fund to be based in Greece, and in the end, he won at least that argument.
Yes, but I mean, I don't think that even the past of, but I don't want to go back to the past of Mr. Schauble and this 100 million, I don't know, euros he got in his office by an arms dealer. But I don't. What I want to know now is we have to have an agreement on the democracy. You know, because what I'm afraid of is that in Greece, the people and all over Europe, this is the Stalinist communist and the extreme, and mainly the extreme right, the neo-Nazis in Greece, that will profit. Because if you have twice people voting and demanding less austerity and more growth, and this is rejected, then, you know, I mean, the extreme right will win, will profit, both in Greece with the neo-Nazis, but in all over Europe. And shared colleague, must be avoided, I think.
Germany has been criticized, by the way, for being very rigid.
No, but I think my colleague is right. But I wonder why Mr. Tsipras has based his government on the votes of the extreme right. We have never understood that, because we believe as well as you do that we should not allow these people to come to government. But in Greece, the only country in Europe, it has been possible. We should definitely.
You're referring to ANEL, the independent Greeks.
It's not the extreme right. This is a popular right, like the Gaulle party in France. The extreme right are other people like the neo-Nazis.
Golden Dawn.
The Golden Dawn, but also some people that were participating in new democracy, like some, very within a fascist past. They were your allies. They're still your allies in the European.
The feeling across Europe is that at the end of the day, it was Germany that called the shots, and many criticize Angela Merkel's very firm, very rigid stance. Is there a problem? Do you think that the image of Germany could suffer as a result of this deal?
I think we should recall the figures and the facts. And the fact has been that in the end, this agreement has been signed by Mr. Renzi, by Mr. Hollande, and by all the others. And therefore, I think we can easily conclude that it cannot be such a bad deal for the European Union. And also France has a lot of money that Greece owes to them, also other countries. And therefore, it's not in a way possible that Greece is always complaining about other countries being responsible for their problems. Greece has to solve its own problems itself. For sure, the other Eurozone countries are there in solidarity. They have made a first package, they may have a second package. We are about to make a third package. We care about the people in Greece. They should get a better future. But in the end, it's a decision, and the decisions about that have to be done in Greece. And I think that's a tough time.
Absolutely. We need reforms, as I told you, more than our party.
And will this third package work?
But we need something more than austerity. And this is all about, almost all about austerity. We can do the reforms. We will try our best to make the reforms.
Now, the Commission has pledged 35 billion euros.
But we need the investments
for growth.
And we need some kind of comprehension from our partners. Otherwise, if they start the new Troika, come say, well, 1 month after the other, do that, do this, this will not work. I'm afraid, no.
Well, we'll have to leave it there. I'm afraid we haven't talked about debt relief. We'll talk about debt relief in the second part of the show. As you know, the IMF has said this week that Greece's debt is not sustainable. I'll be joined by the president of the Bruegel think tank, Guntram Wolf. That's in about 10 minutes on France 24.